Okay, so this is the last video in this workshop series, and this video is on the difference between growth mindset and fixed mindset. And this video is intended to ideally tie this topic up with a bow, sort of bring all the concepts in together so that you can sort of understand mindset as a big picture. So the mindset shifts that you make, or the mindset that you're in, is really affected by whether or not you're actually in a fixed mindset or whether you're in a growth mindset. So now to clarify, you're not going to be in a fixed mindset or a growth mindset about everything in your life. These are not like binary positions. They're sort of like a spectrum, and we're going to fall in a variety of places on that spectrum for each area of our life. So for example, I may have a fixed mindset about work and a growth mindset about relationships, or vice versa. I definitely will admit I have a more of a fixed mindset about like sports. I've never been particularly great, and I prior to learning this didn't realize that I actually could put in the effort and shift my attitude in a way that would allow me to excel should I believe that it was worth my time and effort. And so this is where we actually have the ability to shift and adopt a more favorable mindset. So, but adopting a growth mindset, particularly in relationship to manifesting, is going to make a big difference. So if after listening to this, you identify yourself as having more of a fixed mindset, recognize that you can adopt that growth mindset. And it's going to really affect your interpretation of your experiences. And in turn, those interpretations of your experiences affect the meanings that you make, which in turn affects your energy and your identity, essentially. Right? Because if you're not making it mean something about you, then it's not having such a deleterious effect on your identity and how you see yourself in that situation. So, okay, what is a fixed mindset and what is a growth mindset? Well, with a fixed mindset, you're going to tend to feel that your abilities, your intelligence, and your talents are more fixed. These are inborn traits. So, for example, if manifesting isn't easy for you, it's because, let me correct that. If manifesting is easy for someone else, you would believe it's because they have something that you don't, right? Or you may fall into the category of feeling that it's a coincidence. So you'll tend to avoid challenges since they offer potential failure if you are in a fixed mindset. And so how this relates to manifesting is it means that when you're manifesting, you will tend to struggle to show up as if, because you will have to move through past energy. You'll have to move a lot of potential fears, right? So you may have to process the energy of rejection before your manifestation solidifies into fact. And so if you are in a fixed mindset, this aspect can be quite a bit of a challenge for you. And as I said, if you identify yourself in some of these ways, it's not the end of the world, because you absolutely can adopt a new mindset. And we're going to explore that. So if you're in a fixed mindset, you'll tend to believe that if you experience a failure, it defines who you are, which means you tend to take manifestation more personally, and you're going to maybe internalize your results. So if you're not successful as quickly, you're going to think that it means something about you. So if your SP is not kind of showing up the way you want them to, or the money you're manifesting isn't showing up the way you want it to, you are going to start to feel that it is a reflection of you rather than recognizing that it's actually more information. Fixed mindset people also tend to believe that success comes naturally to the naturally talented. And so that's again where in manifesting you tend to believe that the manifestation only works for some people but not you. Not recognizing that there's actually a structure to it, and that you are just not in the correct structure. And then the last one, and I talk about this one a lot, if you're in a fixed mindset, you're going to focus on the outcome. You're going to be more focused outside of yourself, and you're going to be looking for results to see, is this working? And you're going to be more focused on that than you are on doing the work. So you'll do the work, but you'll do the work to get a result rather than doing the work, looking outside of yourself to see how effective the work is, and then coming back again. So with a fixed mindset, you're definitely looking outside to see, well, is this working? This isn't working. Why isn't this working? That's how that shows up. So with a growth mindset, you're going to tend to feel that abilities can be developed from effective teaching, from effective effort, and from persistence. And so with manifesting, you're going to recognize that it's not personal, it's simply structural, and there are specific components that are at play. And you're going to be more willing to recognize that, okay, if it's not working for you, that there's a shift you need to make. You're going to embrace challenges and welcome them as learning opportunities. They're going to provide you with the information of what shifts you need to make, because you recognize that there's the seed of something equal or greater in every challenge, right? This is where you're giving good meaning to seemingly negative experiences, because it offers you the opportunity to overcome that. So if you're in a growth mindset, you're going to also believe that failure is temporary and that it offers an opportunity to grow. And so this kind of fits in with the one that I was talking about before. So you will, instead of being the person who asks, why doesn't this work for me? You ask, what can I do differently? Right? Because those are two different questions, and those are very excellent reflections of growth mindset and fixed mindset, or actually the other way around. So the first question would have been fixed mindset. The second question would have been growth mindset. You're going to feel, if you're in a growth mindset, you're going to feel that success comes with effort. And so what this means is you don't get frustrated if your manifestation doesn't just like pop into reality instantaneously. You're willing to do the work. So you're going to persist and you're going to pivot because you already know that it's a foregone conclusion that you're creating it. You just are looking to find, like, what is that shift that I need to make? And I don't mean like, what is the new technique I need, or what is the new affirmation that I need? Because if those are not working for you, as I said earlier, in the live that I did earlier today, that's an energetic thing. That has nothing to do necessarily with the affirmation or the technique. Those things are placebos, basically. So if you're in a growth mindset, and this one, in my mind at least, is the most important, you focus more on the process. You're focused on the internal world, and whether or not you're in alignment with what it is you're creating. And then you're noticing when you're out of alignment more than you're focused on the external world and what's happening there, right? You're not, is it happening yet? You're noticing, am I in alignment? So you will already have a good sense of, is it happening or is it not happening? And you will increase your level of awareness. So you're going to have fewer of those pockets of where you're unconscious, you get something negative and you were unconscious to how you were showing up, not recognizing sort of your role in that. When I say that, I never say that in a way where someone needs to start like beating themselves up, because when we create things that we don't want, it's always from an unconscious place. It's always from our shadow selves. So we don't see that because nobody's actively creating the pain in their lives. That's not what this is. So when you have a fixed mindset, you're going to lean towards the problematic tendency to expect everything good to happen automatically and naturally, and you don't want to have to put in any effort. And so when your manifestation doesn't happen quickly, or things aren't happening the way you think they should, you'll tend to feel really discouraged. And you'll be someone who falls into the why doesn't this work for me category. And I've said it before, unless you have an unconscious competence in the area that you're manifesting, there's probably going to be some things to shift. And if you're in a growth mindset, you expect to have to do the work to shift your state and your perceptions, right? So you're going to understand that success does not come naturally really to anyone. Nobody just immediately manifested whatever. They had to learn how to do it and do the work and make the shift. And yes, I will admit, it's easier for some people to make certain shifts. But I still use that term easy loosely because I've manifested multiple things, and I've done so with more of an unconscious competence, as well as through massive blocks. And so even with the unconscious competence, I will never say that that process was easy. There was definitely a lot of requiring to shift through some really negative waters. And so the difference is that I was willing to do it, and I didn't take that negative experience at face value, right? I denied it the stamp of reality. So even the people who manifest easily, like I said, are making that internal shift at some point. And so you want to put your emphasis, and it does get easier, right? Once you've done it a few times, it's like anything. It's a lot easier than it maybe have been the first time. And so if you haven't quite found the groove, then it's just a matter of finding that groove, and then it definitely becomes more easy for you. When you are in a growth mindset, like I said, you put your emphasis on the process. You're using your outcomes as an opportunity to self-evaluate and improve. So if your SP isn't really showing up the way you want, you don't take it personally. You use it as a way to gauge your own energy and your perceptions. You might think back, like, what was my energy like before going in? Was I feeling any anxiety? Did I have any worrying thoughts? Now, again, this is going to require conscious awareness. So if you're not employing conscious awareness, then you're not necessarily going to be able to track this back. And that part is really important. That is focusing on the process rather than the outcome. If you're focused on the outcome, you're going to show up, your SP is going to show up in a terrible way, and you're going to wonder, well, what the heck happened there? Right? And so this is why awareness is so important. Now, if you identify yourself in a fixed mindset, the good news is that mindsets are constantly evolving, and there's absolutely something you can do about it if you're willing to look at what's going on and just really be honest and really be self-compassionate. That part is really important. Pushing through and barreling through anything is really just going to push it down inside, and what happens when you put pressure on something? You get a bomb. So we don't want to do that. But you just want to compassionately move through it and recognize that negative emotions are natural, and it's a bunch of BS that we're just going to be happy all the time, and that we can never clear ourselves out completely and just live a happy, fantastic life with no challenges whatsoever. Like, that's not how life works. You didn't come here to have that life. Sorry. So to attempt to alter your mindset means to challenge your preformed biases and to slowly break free of its restrictions. So you'll notice that I've spoken a lot about the boxes, the preformed biases, the boxes that we live in, right? You have a floor, and then you have walls and ceilings. We don't want walls and ceilings, just floors, just support. And so it might take some time, and you definitely might meet some challenges, but that's what a growth mindset is about. So it'll provide you with excellent practice.